Good morning. Rise and energize. Happy Tuesday, everybody. How we doing? We got producer Rachel rocking and rolling. Got some good energy this morning. We're just chatting about our momentum hour we got coming up today at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 Central, 10 a.m. Pacific.
Clock math, Jim. Clock math. Oh my God. Good morning. I can't believe it's April 1st. We're in Q2, dude. Oh my God. Woohoo. I'm like, we got this. We totally got
Let me
this.
ask you this. Knowing that today is April Fool's and Q2, does that give you energy when you hear it's Q2 or does it take it away?
So I feel stress on my shoulders, but I think it's because we're working towards a launch day. So I feel like I can't even think about Q2. I'm only thinking about the itty bitty bit in Q2, the beginning, because we have a huge event coming up. So I think that I can't even get past that day yet to even figure out how to build out or pivot in my businesses. Does that make sense? So I'm so energized by what we're doing. I so believe in what we're doing. So that gives me energy, but like thinking big picture right now, my brain can't conceptualize it yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, when I think you're in creation mode and when you've got big rocks to tackle and you're trying to launch something, it should take your focus, right? And I think the energy around what you're doing is going to drive you. But I also think we need to find some time to reflect. Look at all the stuff we've built in the last couple months in Q1, right? We can all sit here and say, oh, it's Q2. Oh my gosh, I wish I did this. I wish I did that. I wish this happened. I wish I met that person, blah, 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 blah. But rather than harping on the things we didn't do, what can we focus on that we did do in Q1? And what are the things that did move the needle? For you and I, Rachel, we signed a partnership agreement, right? That took a couple months, a lot of conversations, lawyers, back and forth, this and that, setting up the business officially, moving bank, like all that stuff was a huge process that we nailed down and completed. I'm energized about that. I'm like, wow, we actually moved pretty quickly through a lot of the dull, boring setup process.
Well, yeah, that your mic's not working, by the way. See if your mic is connected. I don't think it's on. I think that I heard a story the other day and it made me think like, oh God, it almost made me cry. It's that story where like guy just wants to hike this mountain, hikes the mountain, is on top of the mountain, sees the other mountain and is like, oh, how do I get to the other mountain? And the guide basically put his hand on his back and just said like, enjoy the mountain that you're on. Like enjoy being right here. And I think I have a really hard time with that, where just being in this moment, standing on like my mountain of value, like right now of all the things I did do, I keep always looking to the horizon at the next thing of like, oh, how do I get there? And so that's something I've been working on for such a long time, because I think it is an energy drain to always be looking at the next best thing instead of just being in this space, like be here now. And I know that you're huge on mindset and really trying to figure out those points of reflection. Is there something that we can reflect on today? I know we wanted to sort of do that today in Momentum Hour. So do we want to reflect on energy gains and drains in general this morning? What do you think?
Yeah, let's chat about it, because it is a time where we are only 25% through the year, right? So if you look at it like this is just the start. And what I always look at time blocks, especially a 12-month time block, is you go into the end of the year, you create your goals, you look at your big rocks, you figure out what's going to move the needle, what are your KPIs, right? There's a million titles, things we can call these, but basically we're analyzing and creating goals for the year. And then Q1, we sometimes and often get frustrated that we're not as advanced, we're not down the road on this project, or we're not forecasted to be where we're at. And I always remind myself that at the end of the day, a year, your business, it's like a rocket ship, right? Think about, you know, uh, Blue Origin with Amazon, or Tesla rockets, or NASA, whatever comes to mind. But a rocket ship uses a ton of energy, right? And it goes pretty slow. And you got the fire coming out the back, and it's all this energy. And then it gets to a certain point where it starts to hit, and it coasts, and it drops off all that piece where it was using all that energy, and it's not on fire anymore, and it kind of just breaks the atmosphere, and it rolls, right? So I look at the year like that. I look at my goals like that, and I look at the business like that. The beginning of the year, Q1, I'm trying to figure it out. How am I gonna get everything set up, squared away, the right relationships, the right opportunities, building out the calendar, adding resources, hiring people, letting go of people, right? I'm preparing in that Q1, and I'm doing a ton of things that cause a ton of energy to get past that hump. That's how I usually look at Q1, because I used to look at it as, oh man, I really wish revenue was at this, or I really wish we hired that person by now, and we're going to be off, and this isn't going to work, and the rest of the year is going to be shitty. Like, that's not the case. That's not the case, because you're building, and you're creating, and you're laying down the asphalt for the car to drive down the pavement as you get into Q2, 3, and 4. But the one important thing that I want to share with everybody is we have to reflect hard, truthfully, in an honest way in Q1. Because although I'm saying, hey, we're using a lot of energy, we're building, we're creating, we're getting off the ground, we're coming up into the business where we want it to be, and we've laid down that groundwork. Although I'm saying all that, that's great. You've got to be honest with yourself, right? And you've got to recreate and reforecast the plan for Q2. So if that's why it's important to reflect, not to get down on yourself, not to say, oh, I wish I just did this, I need to go there, or, I've got to run faster. I wouldn't suggest doing that. I would suggest reflecting to analyze, okay, what do I need to do now that's changed in the last 3 months? And
Then
what always comes to my mind, oh, sorry. What always comes to my mind is, this is live, folks. This ain't pre-recorded. This is why we do it. But what comes to my mind is, all right, we're 3 months in. What worked well? Let's keep doing that. What didn't work? And then what resources do we need to flush out what didn't work? And this is the point where you're either going to continue down the road with a project, continue down the road with a client, continue down the road with a partnership, or this is the time to say, hey, it's not working. What conversation do I need to have? What step do I need to take? And what else do I need to do to bring in the knowledge or the resources to accomplish and get back on track? I love when Q1 ends, because it's a reset for me. And oftentimes I build things, I create things, I start to do things. And in 3 months, I realize that it's not working, or it's not aligned, or it's a distraction, not an opportunity. So Q1 for me is really important, especially from a reflection standpoint.
So do you find that a lot of people that you've worked with, that you've coached, that you've mentored, have a hard time really looking at things in that way because they're so close to it? Like, maybe it is an employee that has to be let go. Maybe it is a system that's not working. But when you're so close to it, can you really sit and evaluate it from outside of yourself and see the bigger picture? How do you walk people through that step? Because I'm finding that happens with a lot of my clients, where they're so close to the situation that they can't see what's really happening and where that energy drain is in their business and their life. So what is something I can do to help them, like, sort of take that step back and really be honest with themselves.
It's funny you mentioned this because this reminds me of like AI, right? So obviously I use AI. We all use AI. I think 64 million people are using it daily at this point. AI will help you in your business, but you have to know the right questions to ask, right? If you don't prompt it, if you don't prepare it, if you don't ask the question to analyze the business XYZ, then it can't do that, right? It needs the input. And I look at reflection, I look at Q1 reflection, energy gains, energy drains. I look at all of it at the same way. Like, who can I be around that will ask me the questions, or who's in my life that will push me and analyze it because I am too close to it, right? Um, you know, obviously, if you use AI or you have a coach or whatnot, there's emotional connection to someone opposed to the chat GBT. And I think that emotional connection allows people to broker energy, allows people to navigate immediate response, allows people to actually probe you and ask you the right questions because you are so close to it. So open up about your business, whether it's with a friend, a confidant, a mentor, a coach, impact effect community. You need to open up and tell the truth so people can prompt you, people can ask you the questions, people can understand, oh, that person said this with fear. Let me actually ask how it's going. That person said, ended it in a tone of a question. Like, I asked someone recently, how the new hire they brought on was going, and they said, "Well, it's going good, right?" And that tone was, "It's not going good. You don't even fucking believe that it's going good, right? Like you just answered my question with a question because you're so uncertain." So I hear things like that. I see things like that. And what it always comes back to is, who are you around, right? We talk about this a lot, your inner circle. Are they going to shoot you straight? One of the best friends in my world that I could ever have is someone who tells me when I'm messing up, someone who tells me outside perspective, someone who tells me, dude, you just rolled over that thing, like that mastermind you launched and made 25K. What? Like you created that 2 weeks ago, you launched it, and now you're like, oh, I got to do one for the next, cohort. And it's like, dude, live in this. You just launched something in 14 days, made $25,000 that took you 6 hours to prepare for. And yeah, I know you've got the mastermind coming up, and it's an hour session, and it's, you're doing, 30-minute one-on-ones with people and whatever. But I often will roll over that stuff too, because I think it's human nature, right? Um, I live by the motto, don't do what you can do today, tomorrow, because tomorrow is not promised. Well, that motto also puts me in a state of I get to the top of one mountain and I'm looking for the other one. But it's always someone that pulls me back. It's always someone that I have an emotional response to something they probe me with and the question they ask. So I would advise you to get with someone and talk about it and be vulnerable and lay it all out there. So that way that person can feel the energy, can understand the perception and perceive your emotion around what you're saying, ask good questions to get more detail, and then ultimately give an honest assessment. I think at the end of the day is the struggle is, who can you trust to be vulnerable with, I said this often, like, I'm someone who kind of puts 95% of it out there in my life. Most people aren't like that. I just don't give a shit. But the reality of it is, that's a hard thing to do. And I know it's a hard thing to do because I didn't do it for a long time. And my issue was I didn't have someone that I could go to and be honest and vulnerable with. And when you have that one person, whether it's a partner, whether it's a business partner, a spouse, a friend, a mentor, a coach, a community, when you have that, it allows you to be more vulnerable and be more consistent around it, because you've shared something and you didn't get scarred for it. You didn't get beat up for it. Someone didn't take the information when you said, hey, my business lost 10,000 last month, and go plaster it around town or put it online. Or a business coach who I see this all the time, like a coach meets with someone and then they talk about that person and give out all the details and don't use their name. It's like, well, that person sees that post too. How does that make them feel? You know, even though you're not saying who it is, the person that shared that doesn't feel great about it because it's out there. And all it does is takes one person to connect the dots. And I've connected the dots before, right? You see someone take a photo, or we had a great client meeting, and then a day later they have this really dramatic long copy post that they dumped in a chat GBT. And it's like, I know you're talking about the person that you just did a whole full day VIP with, right? You just posted a photo of them yesterday. Those situations hurt the vulnerability muscle, I think. But at the end of the day, who's that person that you can be vulnerable with? Who's that person that you can share with, so they can give you the feedback and they can highlight the things based on your emotions, right? ChatGPT isn't going to pick up that you said this fast because you were anxious. ChatGPT is not going to pick up your body language where you say something and you're touching the back of your neck, which tells me that you're anxious, and typically tells me that 5 seconds before verbally comes out of your mouth, right? These are all skills and soft skills and life skills that are related to human connection, where we can pick up on things and get the truth. And I think that's super important, to have that person in your life that you can go to. You can be honest, you can be vulnerable, and you can share how Q1 went. So in turn, you can then have a discussion of what do you need to continue and what do you need to remove.
Well, and that's sort of the whole point of impact effect community, is to have that connection, is to have those people that you can trust and be vulnerable with. We want to be each other's cheerleaders, but we also want to be really honest with each other and ask those questions. I mean, Jim will ask those questions. I will ask those questions. I'm really excited for what we've built. And we are all going to be meeting you where you are, right? Like, we onboard you personally. We figure out what level you are in your business or side hustle, and what you're trying to accomplish, and how we can help get you there. So maybe you don't have a friend or a person or a coach that you can rely on. That's literally the gap that we're trying to fill for you, is to be those people that you can come to and just be like, listen, this is not working out. What do I do? I mean, you have two literal mastermind coaches, the two of us on your side, plus more within the community. I just feel like if you're in this space today and you're brushing your teeth and you're listening to this or taking a shower, whatever it is, and you're realizing like, I don't have anybody to turn to, I don't feel comfortable being vulnerable, consider Impact Effect Community. We are looking for people that are ready to take action. We're done with the learning phase. I did a podcast yesterday. I'm going to show this to you. I'll show it to you maybe during Momentum Hour at 1:00. I have two gigantic binders of PDFs, everyone's freebie that they offer. I was stuck in that phase of oh God, this will be the thing, right? This will be the next thing to help me with the next thing. Do you think any of them are filled out? No. I'll show you that during Momentum Hour, because I want to talk about getting stuck in that learning phase, right? So if you guys are ready to take the next best step, whether it's micro actions, small steps, we are literally here for you. I just feel like what we're building for people, I can't scream it loud enough.
I saw something yesterday where someone said, you get out of the breakthrough phase. You've already lived in it. You've had your breakthrough. It's time to show up and move into the follow-up phase. And it hit me because there's been so many conversations that I've had with folks where it's like, oh, breakthrough moment. I needed to hear this from this speaker. I needed to hear this around human connection or leadership or sales or marketing. And it's like, oh, wow. So, okay, we've just labeled it. You had the breakthrough, mind blown, bomb dropped, perspective shift. energized, motivated, inspired, whatever word you want to call it. Well, now what's the follow through moment? Are you going to do the thing? Are you going to join the community? Are you going to stay consistent? Are you going to allow yourself to be accountable? That was a conversation I had recently. Someone wasn't allowing themselves to be accountable. What does that mean, Jim? You're either accountable or you're not. They wanted to be accountable. They showed up to the things, but they wouldn't allow themselves to do the work. All it was one mindset shift. You show up, you spend the time, reap the reward, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, I was scared of what that reward would look like. And well, what does that mean? Well, if I get a little bit more business, then I have to hire a second employee. And it was tough the first time we hired the first employee, and we had to fire them. And then it took, 6 months. And then we found this rock star. What? You found this rock star? Well, tell me about the rock star. Well, she's still employed with us and she's our top producer. And, we do every once a month, we go over and have family dinner. And, we also go to the same church. I'm like, I'll interview someone for 6 months straight every day to find someone like that. Top producer, aligned in faith, hang out personally, know your spouse, know your kids, right? Like you enjoy spending time with them. They're crushing it for your business. Let's do that again, right? Even though it took 6 months. But the point of what I was trying to say was that person, all they had to do was hold themselves accountable, and they didn't want the outcome because there was another stressor in the business of what that outcome would produce. Well, let's go back to that hire and let's mitigate some of those problems, speed it up. What you've learned is you're not the same person who hired 2.5 years ago, that person. You're someone who's 2.5 years in to the business and developed at a higher rate and have someone and resources. And now you have someone who can train. It's not just you. So you can show up for them. You can spend more time on the interview process because you don't have an immediate gap to fill. Hey, why don't we start interviewing next week? Even though we might not need this for 6 weeks. Well, that reduces a lot of stress, right? I'm not as busy right now because I don't have those those leads in to convert, right? So I can talk about this all day. I'll go on for 45 minutes, but I don't want to bore you with this. And my
No, let's
coaching
start wrapping it up. So what should people
Um,
do this morning? They're getting ready. It's April 1st. What should they do? What's something quick and easy for them to sort of take a step back and really look at where they're at?
I'm gonna go back to people as always. Who's the 5 people that give you the most energy? Call them up today. Take them out to lunch. Get something on the books with them. Heck, I talked to someone last week and they're like, I'm traveling for 6 weeks. I'm like, cool. Can I call your cell phone? Like, we don't need to do a fucking Zoom. We don't need to get the mics ready, the cute cameras. We're not shooting content. Like, you're traveling, bro. Cool. Tell me 15 minutes, I can call you and we could chat. I love you. You give me a ton of energy. I want to know what's coming up, how I can support you, how I can help you. Let's go. Right? Like 15-minute call. It gets so what I'm saying is find 5 people in your life, look through your contacts. This is a great exercise. Look through your contacts, keep scrolling, and you'll find the 5 people that give you a ton of energy. Send a text message, tell them you love them, tell them they're amazing, and ask them if you can jump on a call in the next week and just catch up with them. Because if they're giving you energy and you're in a place right now where you're reflecting on your Q1 and you're not where you're at, you're not where you want to be, we got to enterprise and utilize resources. And the biggest resource being a human and a person, because people are power and people will give you the most energy over a tech stack, over an app, over something that will run out immediately. So go through your phone, scroll through your texts, find 5 people that give you energy, shoot them a text message and get on their calendar as we move into Q2, because their advice is going to be explosive for you. It's going to be a good conversation, and start thinking about some questions to ask them. Start thinking about what worked. Hey, this worked in my business. How can I do this more? Who can you connect me that's doing the same thing? Hey, this didn't work in my business. I've got to remove this or, change something, right? Have those two things ready to talk about with those 5 people that give you energy. And I guarantee you will be moving into Q2 feeling much better, feeling supported, and mitigating and removing some of those things that drain your energy.
Beautiful. So we are going live at 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central, 10 a.m. Pacific. This is our momentum hour. Jim's going to take us through an exercise to sort of recap Q1, right? Reflect, and then figure out where we need to pivot and move forward in Q2 and beyond. So join us for that space. And then also join Impact Effect community. Just give it a try. See what's going on. We're literally building it as we go. We're not just like throwing courses in there and like running away. We're building it as we go. We want to grow together.
Imagine having coaching a community, no cross-selling, fun exercises and activities like ping pong gratitude, momentum hour, office hours, co-creation, meetups in real life, events, private dinners. We have all that for less than $2,000 a year. A year. The cost of this community is less than a business lunch once a month. Like, this is a no-brainer. And I want to push you to start thinking about what opportunities have come your way, what opportunities are coming your way, and are you going to grab onto them? When I think back of 7 years ago in business, if the Impact Effect community existed, I think my life would be drastically different. And we just want to get that opportunity in your hands for you to make the best decision possible. So we invite you to join us. Heck, we just invite you to have a conversation with us because this might not work for you, right? I talked to someone yesterday and they were telling me, they got to get this set up and they're doing this and they're in their beginning stages and they need some funding. And I'm like, this community ain't it for you. Like, you need to go get money to do the thing. You can't do the thing without the money. You don't have the money. You don't have a MVP, a viable product to go to market with. Go build that first before you join the community and learn how to sell it, learn how to market it, learn how to build the relationships you need to get you to the next level and the partnerships. But like right now, it's not the time. That's a great conversation because there's honesty, there's realness, and there's ethics there. And that person is a fan of what we're doing. That's why we got on the call. They love it. They wanted to join it, but now wasn't the right time. But let's have a conversation about it, right? Because there's also someone else that I talked to yesterday. It's like, I've been waiting for 10 years for something like this, right? So they're fired up. They're ready to roll. But whatever situation you're in, we'd love to enroll you in a conversation. And that conversation will be valuable for you because we're going to learn about you. We're going to build a relationship. And we're going to see if it's a good fit to join us. I think it's probably going to be a good fit because of our offerings and our different levels that we talked about, level 1, level 2, and level 3. We've got tons of resources, courses, all that, but we've got creative juice. And what I mean by that is we've got creative ideas that are disrupting a platform like Impact Effect Community. And we've strategically done it in our own app. So that way there's no distractions on Facebook. You're not getting hit with ads and then trying to figure out where the Zoom link is, where the calendar is. We've got it all organized for you. We got you going to one place to see what's popping, what's happening this week, what this month. You got all the subject matter experts that will be coming in bi-weekly to teach you. And I'm just fired up. I'm fired up for it.
All right. So enjoy today. Join us later today if you can. This will be on replay. Momentum Hour will be on replay as well. Eventually, everything will be inside the community, but we wanted to share as much value as we could with everybody right now. So thank you for joining us. And we'll see you later today. And then, of course, tomorrow morning for Rise and Energize. Do you want to say anything? All right, let's go. All right, bye, everybody.